The Phoenix, a Chimera-class vessel with lines that whispered of both predator and grace, pierced the crimson dust of Xylos's outer atmosphere. Across the bridge, Captain Aris Thorne gripped the arms of her command chair, her knuckles white. The planet, a world of striated ochre canyons and jagged obsidian peaks, filled the viewport. Xylos was a world sculpted by a tempestuous god, where beauty was born from unyielding hardship. Aris had seen planets like Xylos before, frontier worlds, worlds on the bleeding edge of charted space, worlds where humanity's ambition had often outstripped its compassion. But Xylos was different. Its starkness held a strange allure, a sense of secrets buried deep within its rocky bones. Atmospheric entry nominal, Captain. Lieutenant J, her first officer, announced, her voice calm and steady against the turbulence buffeting the ship. Shields at 70%. Expecting heavy radiation pockets. Acknowledged, J. Aris responded, her gaze unwavering. Helm, navigate us through the Crimson Divide. I want a low-altitude survey before we make contact. The Crimson Divide was Xylos's signature, a vast scar cleaving the planet in two. Towering rock formations, tinged with a blood-red mineral unknown to the charts, rose into the perpetually swirling dust storms. It was a desolate, almost haunted landscape, a testament to the planet's violent geological past. Yet, clinging to the sides of those canyons, were structures defying the brutal elements. Through her high-powered optics, Aris could make them out, colossal temples carved directly into the rock face, shimmering in the refracted sunlight. They were geometric marvels, echoing a lost sophistication that seemed at odds with the planet's raw, untamed nature. Further in, nestled amidst the canyon network, were the glowing mouths of caverns, pulsed with a soft, inner light. Each cave mouth was surrounded by elaborate, almost fractal patterns, arrangements of crystals that seemed to grow organically from the rock, illuminating the darkness. The images spoke of a civilization that had not only endured but had thrived by working in harmony with a hostile environment. Yet something still felt off to Aris. As the Phoenix navigated the turbulent canyons, the Phoenix's central AI, known as Wraith, spoke from the ship's comm system. Captain, I am picking up a complex energy signature. Elaborate, Aris demanded. It's originating from the crystal caverns. The energy signature seems to oscillate and vibrate, as if forming complex and specific geometric shapes, and organic matter inside. Organic matter? Jay frowned. What does your AI say, Captain? Are they harvesting the crystals? Aris responded. No, it's much more complex than that. It seems the Kara are actually carving the crystals in place. Aris activated the ship's communications system, preparing for first contact. Phoenix to Xylos Planetary Command, this is Captain Aris Thorne of the Chimera-class vessel Phoenix, under the flag of the Alliance of Systems. We are responding to a distress signal. Request permission to land and initiate diplomatic protocols. The silence that followed was thick with anticipation. You heard the captain. Jay's voice came over the Phoenix's bridge. Stand to receive whatever answer their planetary command is going to give us. Minutes stretched into an eternity. The Phoenix's sensors continued to gather data, feeding Aris a picture of a society more layered and mysterious than she could have imagined. Suddenly, a reply crackled over the comm system. Phoenix, this is the matriarchal authority of Xylos. A voice deep and resonant as the canyons themselves echoed, with a strange, modulated quality. We acknowledge your presence. You are granted permission to land at the designated platform near the obsidian pillars. But come with respect. Xylos demands respect. The Age of Symbiosis, as the historical text called it, was a period of both boundless exploration and painful reckoning. Humanity, driven by an insatiable curiosity and a thirst for progress, had stumbled across the galaxy, leaving a trail of both enlightenment and exploitation in its wake. The Systems Alliance had been formed in the wake of those early, often reckless encounters, an attempt to codify interspecies relations, to balance ambition with ethics. The ships of the Chimera class, like the Phoenix, were a symbol of that era. They were warships, to be sure, armed and armored to navigate the dangers of uncharted space. But they were also embassies on wings, laboratories, and havens for diplomats, scientists, and cultural envoys, all venturing into the unknown. It was a noble ideal, Aris often thought, but the reality was messier, more complicated. The laws of the Alliance, etched on plasteel and signed with the blood of treaties, often failed to capture the nuances of the worlds they touched. And sometimes she wondered if humanity was truly listening at all, or if it was merely projecting its own ideals onto alien cultures, deaf to the whispers of wisdom hidden in their strange tongues. The face that now stared back at her from the main screen was a testament to both endurance and authority. Matriarch Lyassa of the Kara. Her hair was spun like moonlight, coiled with crystal threads that glimmered with an eerie light. Across her skin, as dark and rich as the earth of Xylos, were swirling tattoos etched with meticulous precision. They were more than mere decoration, they were records of lineage, trials overcome, and sacred duties performed. Aris had seen portraits, of course. Heard the myths. But the matriarch's aura was palpable, even across the vastness of space. It was the aura of someone who wielded absolute power, someone who had stared into the abyss and emerged unbroken. "Captain Thorne," Lyassa said, her voice carrying a weight that belied its smoothness. "You come at a sensitive time. Why have you answered our distant call? We have long kept our faith and kept to ourselves." Aris spoke with diplomatic precision, but also with a touch of her own convictions. "We received your distress signal, Matriarch. The Phoenix is here to offer assistance and, if possible, to foster a relationship of mutual understanding and respect." Lyassa paused, her eyes, a deep violet hue, studying Aris with an intensity that made the hairs on the back of Aris's neck prickle. "Respect. An interesting concept for an Alliance vessel to carry. But tell me, Captain, do you know of our ways?" Aris hesitated. "I have read your cultural profiles, Matriarch. I understand your reverence for balance, for the ancient rites." A flicker of something, perhaps amusement, perhaps something darker, crossed Lyassa's face. "Then you understand that Xylos is a world of sacrifice. That which is valuable must be offered to maintain the delicate weave." Her expression tightened, and those sharp words were spoken. "And those who are deemed of less value must make the sacrifices." This last sentence hung in the air, heavy with implications. "What does this have to do with the message?" Aris asked. "There are dissidents, Captain, who refuse to accept their role. The balance is at stake. And this required sending a distress call to the Alliance? To involve outsiders in your sacred traditions?" Aris asked, her voice tight. "Surely this can be handled internally. The discord runs deeper than you can imagine, Captain. There are forces gathering that could tear Xylos apart, and spread their disease across the stars. We require discretion. We require an outside influence, unburdened by our ancient squabbles." She paused, her gaze sharpening. "We require your unique approach. But do not misunderstand. I have a task for you, Captain Thorne, but this can only be achieved with the help of two Kara." Lyassa paused before her, eyes hardening. "You must pick them out from the altar of sacrifice." This was it. This was the knot at the heart of the problem, the point where Aris's conscience and the law of the Alliance found themselves on a collision course. Elara and Sola, whoever they were pawns in a deadly game, valuable only for their supposed worth in a ritualistic sacrifice. This was not simply a diplomatic mission anymore. It was a test of everything Aris believed in. It was time to see how far she was willing to go to uphold her own definition of justice, even if it meant defying the very organization she had sworn to serve. The air thrummed with an almost palpable energy as the Phoenix descended onto the designated landing platform. Aris, followed by Lieutenant J and a squad of her most trusted security personnel, disembarked. The platform, a massive slab of obsidian polished smooth by eons of wind and sand, jutted out from a canyon wall, offering a dizzying view of the Crimson Divide. Aris took a deep breath, the air strangely thin and sharp, laced with the metallic tang of the red dust. This was Xylos, unfiltered and unforgiving. But it was the figures waiting for them that drew her attention and held her captive to the ground beneath her ship. They were Kara, and they were unlike anything she had encountered before. The initial scans had hinted at their unique physiology, but they hadn't prepared her for the reality of their presence. They were tall, slender figures, their limbs almost unnaturally long and graceful. Their skin, the color of weathered shale, was crisscrossed with an intricate network of tattoos that seemed to flow and pulse with a faint, inner light. These weren't mere decorations. They were living maps, chronicles of their lives, their lineage, and their connection to the very essence of Xylos. The tattoos seemed to react to the ship's presence, the colors becoming a bit brighter, almost agitated and a bit fearful. But it was their eyes that truly captivated. They glowed with an ethereal, almost phosphorescent light, an inner radiance that suggested a connection to something beyond the physical realm. The color varied, some were the deep violet of amethysts, others the fiery orange of burning coals, and still others the soft, jade green of the rare subterranean plants that clung to life in the crystal caverns. They seemed to see far more than just the physical world, to perceive dimensions and energies that remained hidden to human eyes. Their clothing was as unique as their appearance, woven from fibers seemingly derived from the crystalline structures themselves. The garments were minimalistic, flowing, and adaptable to the extreme weather. Armor plating made out of similar materials were attached over select places where the body needed the most protection. But the clothes seemed to adapt seamlessly with their body. It did not look uncomfortable. Leading the delegation was a Kara elder, her face etched with the harsh beauty of the Xylosian landscape. Her eyes, the color of ancient copper, held a deep wisdom and a hint of melancholy. The tattoos on her arms were thicker and more complex than the others, a testament to her long life and the many trials she had endured. "Welcome to Xylos, children of the stars," she said, her voice resonating with an almost hypnotic power. "I am Tala, speaker for the Matriarchal Authority. We have awaited your arrival." Tala's words were simple, but Aris sensed a deeper meaning, a hidden undercurrent of both hope and desperation. These people were not merely greeting a diplomatic envoy, they were placing their fate in the hands of strangers. "Speaker Tala," Aris responded, her voice careful and respectful. "We are honored to be here. I am Aris Thorne, captain of the Phoenix. We received your distress signal and have come to offer assistance." Tala nodded, her gaze sweeping over Aris and her crew. "We know of your reputation, Captain Thorne. You are known for your unorthodox methods. You are a champion of the defenseless. Your morality, some say, is a dangerous trait." "It's a trait that guides me," Aris replied evenly. "Tell me, speaker, what is the nature of the threat that has forced you to seek assistance from the outside?" Tala's expression darkened. "Disruption. Unbelief. We have always maintained balance on Xylos through strict adherence to the laws of the Earth Mother. We follow the path ordained for us, each with our designated role, each contributing to the harmony of the whole." "And what happens when someone deviates from that path?" Aris asked, her gaze drawn to the silent Kara behind Tala. Tala's eyes flashed with an almost imperceptible warning. "Those who disrupt the balance, those who refuse their ordained roles, become the seed of chaos. They must be reintegrated. For the good of all." Aris felt a chill run down her spine. "Reintegrated? What does that entail?" Tala paused, her gaze distant. "On Xylos, we embrace cycles. Things are built up and destroyed. But this is our truth, you must follow us. We are honored that you could come, and we are ready to get started now." The words hung in the air, heavy with the unspoken. They spoke of a society rigidly structured, where individuality was suppressed in favor of absolute conformity. And that conformity, Aris suspected, came at a terrible price. The sacrifice at the Crystal Cavern, she thought, could have multiple implications for the society of the Kara. She couldn't let that happen. As they turned to follow Tala into the winding tunnels carved into the canyon wall, Aris exchanged a look with Jay. The unspoken agreement passed between them. They had answered a call for help, but they were now walking into something far more complex and dangerous than they could have ever imagined. The mysteries of Xylos were about to unfold, and Aris Thorne knew that they were about to be tested in ways she couldn't predict. As Aris moved through the tunnels of Xylos, the journey gave her time to learn more about the background of the people who resided there. Aris discovered more and more about their history and also discovered why their civilization was in decline. She even took a piece of crystal and ran a test in her ship, which she found to be a superconductor and had many uses. The Kara civilization had been based upon the principles that were established by the Earth Mother. What those were at first, nobody had ever been too sure. It was only through her journey to see those at the bottom and at the top, she would soon find out what the purpose was, and she vowed to find the meaning. The rhythmic hum of the Phoenix's energy core resonated beneath Aris's feet as she walked the narrow corridor leading to her private quarters. The meeting with Tala, the speaker, had left a bitter taste in her mouth, a sense of unease that lingered like the metallic tang in Xylos's thin air. It wasn't the overt threat of the coming civil war. Aris had faced down far worse in her years serving the Systems Alliance. It was the subtlety of Xylosian society, the ingrained acceptance of a social hierarchy so rigid it seemed to crush the very spirit. She thought of the shining crystal cities and the Kara's beauty. The planet was beautiful, yet there was something in the eyes of those people. She needed to touch base with her heart, a reminder to herself and her reason to go on this adventure. She remembered the Phoenix was designed specifically to travel the stars as a safe haven for those in need and who needed a home. Aris stopped in front of the mirror, gazing into it. "You're getting too old for this, Aris," she remarked quietly to herself. Aris had earned her captain's bars the hard way, clawing her way up through the ranks, surviving skirmishes and diplomatic quagmires that would have broken lesser souls. She was renowned, yes, but not necessarily liked by the upper echelons of the Alliance. Her tendency to question orders, to prioritize the well-being of alien populations over the strategic goals of the Systems Council, had earned her a reputation as something of a maverick. A conscientious rebel, as some admiringly or disparagingly called her. That label was a carefully cultivated image, a shield forged in the fires of a past she desperately tried to bury. It was the ghost of Elysium. She pushed the door to her quarters open. The room was Spartan, functional. A small bunk, a workstation cluttered with data pads and star charts, and a single, framed photograph resting on the narrow shelf above her bunk. This was a sanctuary for reflection. It was a picture of the colony ship Elysium, a generation vessel carrying hundreds of human souls to a new, promising world beyond the charted stars. Aris had been a young lieutenant then, fresh out of the academy, brimming with idealism and a naive belief in the benevolent intentions of the Alliance. The Elysium was under her protection, a mission of hope she had taken on with fierce determination. But hope, she learned, was a fragile thing. A pirate fleet of the Xar Collective had ambushed the Elysium, their sleek, bioengineered ships descending like ravenous predators. Aris had fought valiantly, using every tactic at her disposal, but she was outmatched, outgunned, and ultimately, too slow. The Elysium had been crippled, its life support systems failing. Aris had been faced with an impossible choice: evacuate the surviving crew and abandon the colonists, or stay and fight a losing battle, ensuring everyone's demise. She had chosen to save her crew. And every single day, it haunted her, even now. The guilt, the image of those frozen faces behind the viewport of the Elysium, had become the bedrock of her moral compass. From that day forward, she vowed to never again sacrifice the lives of innocents for the sake of political expediency. It was a promise that had guided her through countless difficult decisions, shaping her career, her relationships, and her very soul. "Not a soldier," she whispered, tracing the faded outline of the Elysium on the photograph. "More than ever, I am a rescuer now." That photograph was a reminder, a weight tied to her heart, ensuring she would never forget the price of failure. It was a price she had vowed never to pay again. And that was why she was here, on Xylos, facing down a powerful and enigmatic alien culture. Because somewhere, beneath the rigid social structures and the ancient rites, were individuals like those colonists on the Elysium, individuals whose lives were deemed expendable, whose voices were silenced. That she could not abide. A chime from the door heralded the arrival of Lieutenant J. Aris straightened, wiping away the melancholy from her face. "Captain," J said, stepping into the room. "We've analyzed the coordinates provided by the speaker, The altar of sacrifice is located deep within the crystalline caverns. It's a highly radioactive area, and the tunnels are unstable. It's a potential death trap. Aris nodded, her expression hardening. Then we'll prepare for the worst. What are we looking at security-wise, Jay? My contacts say there are Kara out there as well, people that do not believe in these traditions. They said they will meet us there in order to help. Our path to the cavern will be dangerous, and Aris. I trust your call. Aris took a deep breath, her gaze unwavering. Then we move at first light. It's time we met these echoes face to face and found out what they know. She looked at her crewmate, both of them knowing full well that they might have to give their lives for their beliefs. One thing, Aris, Jay said, her voice low. These rituals, is this about to go too far? We really have to consider what we do here. If it means saving lives, if it means giving people a chance to choose their own destiny. Aris responded, her voice firm. Then we have no choice. But we need to make the right one. We're not just soldiers, Jay, we're supposed to be better than that. And to be better you need more. Aris's words, a hard-won conviction forged in the crucible of tragedy, echoed in the confines of her quarters. She might not be a saint, but she was determined to do what was right, even if it meant defying the very authority she served. She didn't want that loss to happen again. She knew that she had to be better. It was time. The static hissed and crackled, a violent symphony of interference that clawed at the Phoenix's communication systems. Lieutenant Jay wrestled with the controls, her brow furrowed in concentration. The jamming field surrounding Xylos was some of the most sophisticated she'd ever encountered, a suffocating blanket designed to isolate the planet from the outside world. Damn Kara, Jay muttered, her fingers dancing across the console. Their tech is archaic, but they sure know how to scramble a signal. It's like they're broadcasting white noise on a subatomic level. Aris stood behind her, her arms folded, her gaze fixed on the flickering waveform display. She trusted Jay's skills implicitly. If anyone could punch through that digital wall, it was her. Still, the intensity of the jamming was unsettling. It suggested a paranoia, a determination to remain hidden that went far beyond simple isolationism. Anything, Jay? Aris prompted, her voice calm despite the rising tension in the air. Almost. I'm isolating a carrier wave, but it's fragmented, distorted, damn. It's like trying to catch smoke with a net. Jay engaged every filter, every countermeasure she knew. The hissing began to subside, replaced by a low, almost mournful drone. The waveform sharpened, revealing glimpses of a structured message buried beneath the layers of noise. It's a digital cry, coming from the crystal network, Jay said. Then, a phrase broke through the noise, clear and desperate. Urgent assistance, ritual, collapse. Xylos. Then, another burst of clarity. Altar of sacrifice, the balance, all will be lost. Each fragment was punctuated by jarring static bursts, making it difficult to piece together the complete message. The words themselves sent a shiver down Aris's spine. Ritual. Sacrifice. Collapse. They resonated with the dark undercurrent she had sensed during her communication with the Matriarch, confirming her worst suspicions. Run a forensic analysis on the signal origin, Jay, Aris ordered, her voice tight. I want to know where this message is coming from. Working on it, but the signal is bouncing all over the damn planet. It's designed to obfuscate its origin. As the Phoenix's AI was searching the origin, it was quickly discovered as the Echoes, those who are referred to as the Seers. Seers? Aris responded. As the Phoenix tried to trace back where these Kara were, a burst of a counter-jamming signal was sent back to Aris and her ship. I will need to shut down the comms now, Captain, Jay announced. We can't let what they know out, otherwise all hell will break loose. Do as you must, she responded. I trust you. Phoenix is under attack. Someone was screaming over the comms. We need some support, Captain. Aris knew that Phoenix's success depends on being there fast. Minutes stretched into an eternity, as Jay's fingers danced across the console, painting with light as she isolated a clear channel to the leaders of the Echoes. Her movements were deft and precise, honed by years of navigating the digital battlegrounds of the galaxy. Aris watched her, a knot of tension tightening in her stomach. The information they extracted from this mysterious plea could be the key to saving Xylos, or plunging it into chaos. "I have a transmission, audio only," Jay announced, her voice tight with concentration. "It's fractured, but I can filter it." Jay engaged another series of algorithms, peeling away the layers of distortion like the leaves of an onion. The static crackled and subsided, giving way to a voice, thin and strained, but undeniably human, if the Kara count as human. "Captain Thorne, if you can hear this, we are the Echoes, hunted and persecuted, hidden deep within the crystal caverns." The voice hesitated, as if struggling to find the strength to continue. "The Matriarch, she speaks of balance, but it is a lie, a twisted distortion of our ancient ways." There was a gasp, a sound of pain, followed by a flurry of static. Aris leaned closer to the speaker, her senses on high alert. "The ceremony, it's not about preserving life, it's about seizing power, to silence those who question, those who see the truth." The voice choked, sputtered and, then faded entirely to static. "There! That's all that she had," Jay replied. "But there's a lot more information than we realize if we were to put it all together. What do you think, Captain?" The signal was gone, leaving behind only the haunting echo of a desperate plea. Aris stared at the silent console, her mind reeling. This transmission, however broken, confirmed her worst fears. The sacrifice was not some benevolent act of cultural tradition, it was a brutal tool of oppression. The matriarchal authority was not preserving the balance of Xylos, they were exploiting it. The voice was coming from inside the crystal cavern. The origin point, according to the Phoenix, was extremely faint, making things more and more difficult to locate. And that ritual is probably happening as the last transmission occurred as well. "We believe this is our moment, Captain," Jay said. "We can change their destiny." It was a moment for both courage and valor. It was a race against time. If they could get that transmission, then they could get what they wanted. And the fact that someone believed them would be all the more valuable to this captain. It didn't make sense, however. Was it something that was just happening at this moment? Or something that might happen at all? "What do you recommend?" Aris asked. Jay looked at Elias, their eyes connecting. Jay responded, "We have to take the first step. Otherwise, who will follow and what will become of them? Set a course for the crystal caverns, Jay. All hands on deck. We're going in." As Jay returned to her post, and the crew of the Phoenix prepared for the unknown, Aris stared out at the red-tinged landscape of Xylos. The briefing room aboard the Phoenix was a cramped, utilitarian space, but Aris had tried to make it feel less like a cage. Soft, amber lighting bathed the walls, lined with holographic displays showing tactical charts and atmospheric readouts of Xylos. Around the circular table sat her senior officers, a motley collection of humans and a few strategically chosen alien allies, their faces reflecting a mix of anticipation, apprehension, and weary acceptance. "All right," Aris began, her gaze sweeping around the table. "We all heard the transmission. The Matriarch is painting it as quelling a rebellion. The Echoes claim the ritual is a power play. Any thoughts?" Chief Warrant Officer Kalen, a grizzled human with cybernetic implants tracing patterns across his skull, spoke first. "Intel's weak, Captain. All we got is a desperate plea from some heretics, and some vague warnings from the planetary government. Alliance protocol states clear, non-interference in internal cultural affairs." Kalen, a veteran of countless frontier conflicts, was a stickler for procedure. He saw the universe in stark black and white, and any deviation from the established rules was, in his view, a recipe for chaos. "With all due respect, Chief," Lieutenant Jay countered, her voice sharp. "These cultural affairs involve humanoids being sacrificed. I thought we were supposed to be upholding a moral code, not turning a blind eye to barbarism." "Moral codes are for planetside philosophy seminars, Lieutenant," Kalen retorted, his cybernetic eyes glinting. Out here, we follow orders. And the orders are to respect planetary sovereignty, no matter how much we disapprove of their practices. The argument was familiar. It was a debate that had been raging within the Systems Alliance since its inception, the tension between respecting cultural diversity and enforcing a universal standard of human rights. Aris understood both sides, but she also knew that the lines were often blurred, the decisions rarely simple. Perhaps, boomed a gravelly voice from the back of the room. There is a third option? All eyes turned to Forlag, a towering Crothian warrior, his massive frame taking up a significant portion of the already cramped space. The Crothians, known for their honor-bound code and unmatched combat prowess, were valuable allies to the Alliance, and Forlag was one of Aris's most trusted advisors. Elaborate, Forlag, Aris said, nodding towards the warrior. We have heard the plea of these echoes, have we not? Forlag began, his voice a low rumble. They call for intervention to prevent a terrible tragedy. Is it not our duty, as protectors of this section of space, to uphold our oath and defend those who cannot defend themselves? But Forlag, Kalen responded. What makes us so different from the very people that we fight if we have to resort to the barbaric actions that they do? Jay then replied. We are not the people we fight. We help those who have no one left. That is what the Alliance had promised us for doing what it did. While I appreciate the passion, Aris interrupted, holding up her hand to quell the rising tension. We need to operate under certain parameters here. All faces moved their eyes back at the captain, ready for her decision. All with their own hopes and ideals. Kalen, I value your caution. But I can't ignore the red flags here. There is something very wrong with this situation on Xylos. Aris continued, her voice firm and steady. This mission isn't about imposing our values. It's about upholding the principles we claim to stand for: freedom, justice, and the right to self-determination. Aris took a moment. Our mission's objective is simple. Determine the legitimacy of the Echo's claims. If the ritual is indeed a violation of fundamental rights, we take action. However, we must make sure to respect all parties and respect that there will be no war on our accord. That's where you come in, Forlag. A grin spread across Forlag's broad face, revealing a flash of sharp, Crothian teeth. I am ready, Captain. We will be stealth, we will be precise, and we will uphold our oaths. We'll protect those women, whether they want to be saved or not. The Kara will not have a reason to think otherwise. The Phoenix is going to save them. I trust that will be all, Aris said as they broke off the meeting, allowing them to put their plans in motion. With the crew dismissed, only Aris and Jay remained in the room. Jay ran a hand through her short, cropped hair, looking troubled. You're walking a fine line, Aris, Jay said quietly. We know the Alliance is watching us, looking for any excuse to rein you and the Phoenix. If we act too aggressively, we could be declared rogue. I'm aware of the risks, Jay. Aris responded, her gaze meeting Jay's. But some lines are worth crossing. Some risks are worth taking. This doesn't just touch this little planet, it touches the core of who we are. Aris fell silent, a distant look in her eyes. The ghost of Elysium, she thought, was watching her now, judging her every move. And she couldn't let it down. What if she made the wrong choice? What would the Kara want, or would they do it? Under the cloak of Xylos's perpetually swirling crimson dust, the Phoenix, under the skillful guidance of Lieutenant J, descended into the planet's inner reaches. The canyons grew tighter, the rocky walls towering hundreds of meters above them, blocking out the weak starlight and plunging the ship into an eerie twilight. Switching to silent running, Jay announced, her fingers flying across the helm console. Engaging passive sensors. This close to the terrain, active scans will paint us like a beacon. The hum of the Phoenix's engines faded, replaced by a low, almost imperceptible vibration. The ship was now moving on auxiliary power, relying on stealth and sensor trickery to avoid detection. Aris could feel the change in the atmosphere, the tightening of muscles, the subtle shift in the crew's collective focus. They were now operating in the shadows, embracing the cloak of secrecy that Xylos seemed to demand. Radiation levels spiking in Sector Gamma. Kalen reported from his station, his voice grim. The crystal formations are amplifying the planet's natural radioactivity. I'm patching through emergency shielding to all sections. Stay close to the bulkheads. As the Phoenix slid through the canyons, the ship began its descent closer to the crystal cavern system that lay below. To their surprise, an advanced system of caves lay below. They were massive and seemed to have access to all the caverns throughout the planet. They landed in a place that was far away and isolated from anything known. The cavern is just a few ways in this direction, Captain, Jay responded. We have to do this carefully now. Aris nodded at a few of her most trusted guards and spoke. Let's go. Set up a perimeter while we do what we have to. The air grew colder. They continued, following a set of faint path that seems to make no sense. The team took every corner and eventually reached its destination. What appeared before Aris caused her to take pause. This wasn't just a cavern, but an intricate network of halls and pathways all carved from what seemed like bone. The material glowed and seemed to shift through different phases of life and death. As they advanced, they noticed there were markings along the wall that gave more information. They seemed to tell of different events, deaths and battles from a long past war. It seems they have been fighting from a long time and were unable to stop. They were led into a center, where there was a large chamber. A voice could be heard in the distance. The scene before them took them back. They had come to witness the Matriarch. Before them lay all of what was known for Xylos. A throne crafted of bones and power, looking on them. Matriarch Lyassa sat, a figure both elegant and scary. All of their power, their culture and all of her might is just all so overwhelming. You have arrived, Aris, spoke Matriarch Lyassa. You have been a long time. Aris, while still in shock from the scene, spoke quickly. We are here to investigate, and to discuss matters with our Kara allies. Please let us do what we are here to do without conflict. We can assure you that there are not people that follow any longer. Their fate will arrive as soon as tonight. Matriarch responded. We are only bringing what the will of Earth Mother dictates. Matriarch has a great respect for the Mother Earth that Aris will have to be mindful of what to say and what can happen. The ones that may be born is the true path for what the balance may see. The ones to be sacrificed had strayed far from our course. Your people are simply confused. She continued with some form of delusion. These people that you put at the altar, did they not have a say in anything? Aris said, a bit more louder than she intended. I understand that this is your way, but you cannot use it when there is nothing that may prove so. Silence ensued. All the guards for the Matriarch looked on with hate. But they didn't do much more than what was requested. With those few words, Matriarch Lyassa stood. This would be the beginning of either great friendship, or terrible things for Aris and her crew. What can the Matriarch really prove? What could someone do in the face of an absolute god of belief? Aris needed a plan, and she needed it fast. The Matriarch's chamber, as it turned out, was not merely a meeting place or a throne room. It was the nexus of Xylos' ancient power, a place where the veil between the physical and spiritual realms seemed to thin. Crystal formations, grown to enormous sizes, pulsed with an eerie, internal light, casting long, dancing shadows across the cavern walls. The air crackled with energy, a tangible force that hummed against Aris's skin. Lyassa, her face now set in an implacable mask, gestured with a jeweled hand towards a raised platform at the center of the chamber. Behold, Captain Thorne, she said, her voice echoing through the cavern. The altar of balance. It is here that we renew our bond with the Earth Mother, ensuring prosperity and stability for all. As Aris approached, escorted by Tala and the silent Kara guards, the scene became sickeningly clear. The altar was a raised, circular platform, constructed from the polished bones of colossal creatures that, Aris suspected, were long extinct on Xylos, their sacrifice perhaps a tradition dating back to a time of more vibrant life. At the center of the altar stood two figures, bathed in the harsh glow of the crystal lights. Ilara and Sola. The sight of them made Aris's stomach clench with a mixture of anger and pity. Both women were young, barely more than girls, their faces pale against the dark skin. They were dressed in simple, rough-spun robes that did little to conceal the skeletal thinness of their bodies. They had clearly been starved, both physically and emotionally. Elara, the first to meet Aris's gaze, possessed eyes that were truly remarkable. They shimmered with an ethereal, almost otherworldly light, reflecting not just the physical world around them but something deeper, something beyond human comprehension. Aris saw visions flicker in their depths, swirling nebulae, ancient glyphs, and fleeting glimpses of a future she could not decipher. A seer, clearly, a vessel for the unknowable. Sola, in stark contrast, emanated a defiance that burned like a wildfire. Her dark eyes, fierce and unyielding, glared at the matriarch and her guards, radiating a contempt that seemed to scorch the air around her. Her jaw was set, her shoulders squared, as if steeling herself against an inevitable but unacceptable fate. Aris could sense the raw power radiating from her, a latent strength that was being brutally suppressed. "These are they," Matriarch Lyassa proclaimed, her voice dripping with an unsettling mix of reverence and condemnation. Elara, touched by the sight, and Sola, a defier of all things. "Their connection, their unnatural connection, threatens the very fabric of our society. Their imbalance has brought great destruction to our people. They were born to be sacrificed. In them, they know exactly what they have to do. Their value, they are our power." The matriarch did not realize just what exactly Aris was. Just a woman in this place, that is. An object. A human. What she will soon find out will change the very nature of the core. The two women had to be saved. That much was clear as well. Aris met Sola's gaze, trying to convey a message of reassurance, a promise of intervention. She saw only a flicker of hope, quickly extinguished by the cold, harsh reality of their situation. Sola had clearly resigned herself to her fate. She understood all too well the fear that gripped these women, the despair that threatened to extinguish their spirits. It was the same fear she had seen on the faces of the colonists aboard the Elysium, the same helplessness that still haunted her dreams. And in that moment, standing before the altar of balance, bathed in the eerie light of the crystal caverns, Aris Thorne knew that she could not stand idly by. This was not just a diplomatic mission, it was a moral imperative. The ghosts of Elysium demanded it. The trapped looks of those two women. The need to do good with the resources and power she has now, it all was a signal to what came next. Something that has to happen next. She had to save them, even if it meant defying the matriarch, challenging the ancient laws of Xylos, and risking everything she had sworn to uphold. The balance of their lives, and of the galaxy, depended on it. The air thickened, humming with a tension that rivaled the energy of the pulsing crystals. Every sound seemed amplified, the rustle of the Kara guard's bone armor, the labored breathing of Elara and Sola, and the rhythmic pounding of Aris's own heart. Matriarch Lyassa's violet eyes narrowed, the light within them hardening into glacial points. "Captain Thorne," she said, her voice laced with a chilling calm, "you presume to interfere in matters you do not understand. These sacrifices are vital to the well-being of Xylos." Aris met her gaze, unflinching. "What I understand, Matriarch, is that you are preparing to murder two innocent women in the name of a twisted ideology. You speak of balance, but what I see is oppression. What I see is fear disguised as tradition." A gasp rippled through the assembled Kara. The guards shifted nervously, their hands tightening on their intricately carved bone weapons. The silence was broken only by the soft, desperate whimper of Elara. Aris, knowing that words alone were not enough, took a step forward, placing herself between the matriarch and the altar of balance. "I cannot allow this to happen. I swore an oath to protect the innocent, and I will not stand by while you commit this atrocity." Lyassa's composure finally fractured, her face contorting with a rage that was all the more terrifying for being so long suppressed. "Insolent child of the stars!" she hissed, her voice cracking like thunder. "You dare defy the will of the Earth Mother? You will pay for this blasphemy!" The matriarch raised a hand, and the crystal formations in the chamber began to thrum with a malevolent energy. The Kara guards lunged forward, their bone weapons glinting in the eerie light. "Now!" Aris shouted, drawing her sidearm, a compact energy pistol that hissed with contained power. The command unleashed a carefully orchestrated chaos. Lieutenant J, quick as a viper, drew her own pistol, firing a stunning blast that sent 2 guards collapsing to the ground, their bodies convulsing. Forlag, with a roar that shook the very foundations of the cavern, charged into the fray, his massive frame a battering ram against the Kara ranks. The Phoenix crew, trained for every conceivable contingency, moved with practiced efficiency, deploying energy shields, sonic disruptors, and a variety of non-lethal weaponry designed to subdue rather than kill. Their goal wasn't conquest, it was rescue. The battle was fierce, brutal, and disorienting. The Kara guards, though smaller than the Crothian warrior, were fierce and surprisingly agile, their bone weapons capable of delivering searing blasts of energy. The crystal formations amplified the chaos, creating unpredictable energy surges that made targeting difficult. Amidst the chaos, Aris saw Sola. Aris saw the pain she had gone through because of everything. There was more to her than the fiery look that she gave. There was time to think, but time to get on with it. Pushing a bone guard. "Are you okay?" Sola looking back at the captain. "I have dealt with much, I can do so again. Help that seer." She pointed at Ilara. Aris nodded and began moving back to the stage. She quickly grabs a pair of handcuffs, but they wouldn't help. Instead, she pulled off a crystal. With a touch, they immediately fell to the ground. The power seemed to dissipate completely without a conductor. Aris quickly grabbed Ilara and headed back to the ship. Aris pushed and shoved, leading them as quickly as she could with Forlog blocking the way. Ilara's touch brought a sensation she had never felt before. It came with a calmness that also told what was going to happen and to keep on pushing. "We can get out of here now," said Aris. But all Ilara did was shake her head, pointing towards something that she needed to protect. It was in that instance that Aris knew that Ilara could see more than any of them could. That meant something needed to happen. And only then will they truly be safe. As they fought, Aris saw the light coming down towards them. What was the matriarch doing? The floor began to rumble, the earth was reacting to it. This was the power of the Earth Mother. Aris knew then that she was in trouble. The boarding ramp hissed closed, sealing the Phoenix against the crimson dust that swirled outside. Aris watched through the security monitors as technicians began the pre-flight checks, the rhythmic activity a stark contrast to the tense silence that had settled over the bridge. She felt the weight of the responsibility she had just shouldered, the future of 2 alien women now resting on her decisions. Inside the ship, Ilara and Sola stood, a few feet away from each other, rigid and wary in their ill-fitting jumpsuits. Jay had directed them to a small, unused mess hall, attempting to offer them some privacy, but the confines of the ship clearly did little to ease their anxiety. "They're scared, Captain," Jay observed, joining Aris at the monitor station. "I don't think they've ever been off-world before, let alone on a Chimera-class warship." "Scared is an understatement, Jay," Aris responded, her gaze softening as she studied the 2 women. "They've been raised to believe that their only purpose is to serve, or be sacrificed. They've never known freedom, never had a choice. What do you think they're going to do now? What would you have done at that moment?" "That is true, Captain," Jay replied. "Well, what is the word?" There is a slight pause, with a moment of doubt, the bridge door opened, giving way to Ilara. "This place, it is something that we do not understand. We have had people tell us that our mind is not for technology but for other things," Ilara stated. "She's referring to the ship," Aris responded. "We will get to that. I asked that my bondmate, Sola, will arrive quickly. Are people here okay with that? I do not want them to go ballistic. The way the Mother Earth intended must continue." Aris couldn't lie, it is too easy. "I cannot tell you what to do, just listen to your heart. If your heart tells you to go against the order of this crew, then that is what we will be. But this means there is no turning back. Everyone has to go back here one day at a time." "What is the reason?" Aris responded. Ilara shook their head, moving to face the monitor as she stared into it. "This is like a weapon, something so powerful to make or break something. Our people are going to die if we don't show them this. And you trusted me beforehand. Well, this ship, and what has been on it, proves that it can help with what will come. It will also require the people I work with. What do you think? Ilara questioned. Aris looked toward Lieutenant J for what to do. Both are at a loss for what may need to come. It was at that time that someone had knocked at the door. Speak, Aris said. What was here was not a team member, but a team leader. All faces went calm. They can't do anything except follow through and prove themselves to not be traitors to any of this. It was all that was available. All that could be done. Lyra entered the room. I must request your permission to make a change. To put our skills to the test. What did you say the other woman, Aris? The air felt like a feather was flying about, but the situation could go nuclear any second. What a bad time for this to all happen. But they are going to use it to their advantage, and keep pushing forward to be able to prove that they are the right choice. She would see the truth, and change herself from the ways that they were. Nyssa said, making sure to face Elias with those words. This ship would be everything that we need. That is what must happen for us to actually trust. Is this right? Elias? What else could ever come from this? The room was all but silent. Every person in that room was trying to discern every move. It was then that Aris understood. What if something might make a difference? Would that turn it around for the better? This situation, I feel, we have more to lose than to gain. Tell me why we should help you all. Forlog then shouted. You have us in a disadvantageous situation. Aris looked with a soft stare directly at Forlog. They know, and they are willing. What's the answer? This might be your only chance for a long time. What do you wish to request, Ilara? Aris finally asked, deciding to cut through the tension. I need access to this ship's communication system. I can reach out to the others. I can also see that the communication you may send will get twisted. Fine, it's your call. Agreed, Aris then said to the comms. Set up a safe communication path to Ilara. I will allow the transmissions and take responsibility for any possible breaches. But Captain, the officer began. As long as we know what the plan is, as long as we know that this would be what is intended. This action could not be undone at this moment. She needed to trust now, and she knows she has to continue through this. With Jay's assistance, Ilara established a secure comlink, her glowing eyes focused intently on the cascading streams of data that flooded the viewport. Aris watched her, fascinated by the way she seemed to connect with the ship's systems, her mind probing the depths of its digital consciousness. She needed to be a step or two ahead when fighting. I am reaching out to the others, to those who are safe and willing to assist us, Ilara announced. But I will need some time. Hours crawled by, punctuated by bursts of static and fragments of distorted communication. Aris watched as the strain etched lines on Ilara's face, her connection to the distant Kara mines taking a visible toll. Sola, ever watchful, hovered nearby, providing Ilara with silent support. We make progress, but I'm getting a bad reading. It seems that the connection is getting closer. It's at that time that it happened. An officer barged into the ship. Captain, this is a red alert. We just got word that there was some manipulation of our data from an officer on board. We do not know who. We need an emergency security process to come through. The two new members have looked towards her. Their intentions as true, and they are still trying to do good for them. It's just that it had to prove out whether or not they wanted to commit and go through with it. A trust that only they could see. Then do what needs to be done. I still trust them so. Set it to all non-lethal, Aris announced with a grimness in her. But the officer said, they can all be free of this or not. Then and only then will we know how to proceed. If you trust me, trust my decisions. This needs to go forward. Aris then grabbed Sola and Ilara, before quickly pushing her team into the side. This is the moment. They are all ready, all waiting. I am receiving the information. What we have sought is already close, Ilara stated. What do we do now? We need all of you. It is going to be too fast, otherwise we must be quick, Aris responded. The team listened well. If they didn't, what was the point of bringing in these people all in the first place? What else is there to do if there was not even trust in the crew? They moved as one. A united team that trusted each other, knew what their goals were. The security quickly went, and the path to the Matriarch was in view. Thank you, Aris, thank you to all of you. What could come of this is for all of you to know, Sola stated as she began to move. Do as I know and let us go together. And with that they all moved. Trust was in the air, and if it weren't, they would soon learn the result for each other. A bond unlike any other between those of the stars. The hallways that lied before them were now clear. The people they looked up to were all nothing more than. What will come for them then? Was power? Money? Or to leave them out to dry? The question to these people did matter, or so it seems. They had now reached the chamber. Its very gates held so much power, so much force that only their will can move anything at all. But as they reach, it seems the situation has gone sour all over again. It seems all were defeated. The chamber lies in ruin. What could be so bad about this? Aris said, this power, what could it be now? Did we make the wrong call on where they belong, or where we should be going? Aris looked at Alara and Sola and the rest of her group before saying, whatever you say, we do it together. They nodded silently. To their surprise, they were already fighting back in an all-out. What appeared to be, was an angel, wielding a crystal of great light. Was that all that had mattered? Was everything for naught? Was all the death and destruction for something so vain? That only a select few will now understand? That is when it happened. The angel came down with great power, but to then, the earth started to rumble again. All knew what the signal said. That was when the ground shook. This power, that is what they can truly use to control people and make sure to give them their power for the taking. Can you do it? What do you need? Aris told her. The power was something only she could control at the end. Please. And for the final strike, Alara moved forward. All at once they started glowing with power. More and more. All to do what only she could muster. The floor became to shake. Power to power. She could do nothing for too long, but she had to at least push forward. Please, she cried. Suddenly power flowed back towards her, and she was on. A power surge, and all were stunned. When they returned and looked at the woman in charge, they began to cry and were all in shock. She has done something, in order to achieve a place beyond the reach that ever was. Their powers were returned to what they need to be, all was safe and done at the end. With those steps that mattered, all that matters now is, she's about to make a great choice. To show or prove for herself. With all of the power she has in place now, it can truly make or break the universe. This power, all of it lies on her for what may be. To see and believe, to try to find it all with her heart. The angel came down from a stage, finally looking and accepting what is about to come. The world has been shown, and now it is time for this. It's in those steps that we all have our answer to what comes next, what is going to happen. All that needs to happen. This was where it will come through, and where every soul knows. There is a way, she says, looking and crying for help or otherwise. Looking on and making what you are going to do, this is the moment. I thank you for everything. And with that Alara died and merged. With that move, all fell back, and a new power emerged. It was what the doctor said, a new understanding. The power of all of this combined, to make what is meant to be and not what. All of that is for what? Now Alara was gone, what could be said for them at that moment for what was there? Is there anything we can do then? Aris said. Tell me. Lyassa bowed before her, and what was now before her. The crystal is safe and in good hands. The knowledge that is given proves what our choices are going to be. This was never meant to be for our people, but to see what is about to happen. Our planets and our people have to move on. Elias cried from those words. But was it the truth or what? But this was never the full answer. The planet is going to explode. With their powers combined, there is very little they can do. Everyone has to be evacuated and will be up to us for our new home. The planet knows, and it is not going to get better. Make what you can. Lyra mentioned. You need a planet for them. Or all of what you are standing for will not come about. Aris turned back towards Sola. Why? Why do they need this? Tell me what you think, or are you just to fight? She needed to know, otherwise her crew could be doomed for what choice may come. Sola looks on. I do not know what your reasons are. All I know is that you are going to get our people there. Do what you will. Do what they are afraid of. After knowing what might be true or not, she gave the order to help the people. The Phoenix is going to give all that is needed. She said it, finally understanding it. It was in that instant, it had finally come to light for what this was to be, what would that truly hold. It was now about to mean what the rest truly was. With the speed they could gather, everything that was needed was taken. All went aboard, and there was no sacrifice for her ship. It truly did fly. It was time to say goodbye to planet Xylos. But before that, I have to show you everything you know. Elias spoke. From her hand an image of what everything was has come into existence. They could be free. And finally they knew they were. Chapter 14, An Uncertain Galaxy. A new home? As they traveled to the stars. One crew member is there talking to Elias. Where will we go then? She asked Elias. I know of the worlds that we can get to. There are planets that the Alliance will not allow us to go to. He responded with sadness. But they can all be safe and make it through to all. What will become will become. They went. It was there where Elias made his declaration. I have a choice. I will not. All of your power to your hands and make a decision for it all what we want to hold. After everything that had been done, all. What might all change? Sola has come into the room as the declaration spoke. We have made contact with your friends. All said in unison. It is what will become. They can only believe and hope that the decisions that matter will. From those words, from those years that changed. Then came something more. The Phoenix did fly. The Crystal Cavern, a sacred place moments before, was now a war zone. Energy blasts ricocheted off the crystalline walls, illuminating the frantic movements of Aris's crew and their newfound allies. Elara, her luminous eyes wide with a terror she couldn't quite mask, clung to Aris's side, her hands trembling as they navigated the chaos. We need to reach the emergency exit. Aris shouted over the din of battle, her voice tight with urgency. Jay, can you secure a route? Working on it, Captain. Jay responded, her voice crackling over the comm system. But they've sealed off most of the main tunnels. We're going to have to take the secondary routes, smaller, unstable, and crawling with guards. Then that's our path. Aris replied grimly. Forlag, clear the way. We need to move, now! Forlog, a hulking mass of muscle and Crothian fury, roared his assent, charging ahead with his bone sword. Each swing of his weapon cleaved through the ranks of Kara guards, sending them flying with sickening cracks. But the guards were relentless, swarming them from all sides, their energy weapons spitting searing bolts of plasma. Sola, surprisingly, proved to be a formidable fighter. Despite her captivity and emaciated state, she moved with an agility and ferocity that belied her appearance. Years of pent-up rage fueled her movements, her fists and feet connecting with brutal efficiency, disarming and disabling the guards with a speed that impressed even Forlag. They will not let us leave, Sola muttered with every hit. Not after all we have done for this. Aris pressed further, ignoring what Sola did, just to continue onward towards the next goal. Reaching their ship was one thing, what to do with everything else will have to become something that all can agree and not have everything fall apart. They just didn't want all hell to break loose. Not at all. But the tunnels were a treacherous maze, twisting and turning with unpredictable suddenness. As they navigated a narrow passageway, a section of the ceiling collapsed, showering them with debris and separating Aris and Elara from the rest of the group. Aris! Elara shouted, grabbing her arm and pulling her close. They are coming, the ones that we face will all mean for a world of hurt. They needed to make it up all the way fast or all will be moot, right? Show me what to do, Elara, or it's going to fall. I cannot. If the two do not go, nothing might help with the others. All I can give you is hope and more or less it being over. This was it then, There will be no running away from what needed to be done. And something had to be done, and come right. All of it now makes sense in what they were running through with every chance they could muster. They could almost make it when, from the shadows emerged a figure, tall and imposing, clad in the ceremonial armor of a Kara high priest. His face was hidden behind a stylized bone mask, but Aris could sense the burning intensity of his gaze. "You will not escape, outsiders," the priest intoned, his voice amplified by some kind of voice enhancer. "The Earth Mother demands their return. This is something we have to see and more." There was more to it than what they had seen or had before with anything. What did it all come down to? Was this worth it? For them? Aris looked at the priest and then to her partner, Jay, and saw her signal. That meant what was to come should be done by just them. Aris was not going to give anything without letting the person truly know what was coming. Aris raised her pistol, preparing to fire, but the priest moved with surprising speed, deflecting her shot with a sweeping gesture of his hand. The air shimmered around him, a visible distortion of some kind of energy field. "We got him!" Forlag shouted before he suddenly gasped with pain. A bone sword had pierced him through his chest before falling. There were many lives all around, ready to move and ready to die. Aris and Jay were outnumbered. The numbers didn't mean anything, and they knew what that meant. Then the world shattered. A woman began to cry and moved near the big Crothian. "There has to be some way we can help him," Ilara shouted at Sola and Aris. Aris with a deep breath responded and shook her head. "Do not let his action to be taken as nothing. I'm sorry that this happened, and now we will make sure something more will come. I promise." Aris knew that this must be the moment where all may stand still, what can come, and what to do. And something had to change. But what did that truly mean? Jay rushed forward, leading the two away. "Go now, or we will all die. Let the sacrifice that come forth from this be worth more than anything." "Thank you both," said with a tear running down. And so it ended. "No!" Forlog shouted as he gave his last breaths. The team, saddened, looked towards him with every last bit. They will need to give thanks to what he has brought, and to understand from this all must. The world would soon take another step on what may come and give his will upon the test. A soul has been born to the Phoenix. As Jay continued to pull her, Aris knew it was time to make a stand. If that was what could have happened, there will soon be something. She touched the button to self-destruct, as something from the sky had touched down. Now let's get out of here, or there are going to be more death coming. The scene had been set. With all that comes, it might be worth it or nothing at all. No matter what was said from here on out, one thing will be certain. That something needs to happen for all to mean anything. They moved forward now. With little left, it would all be for nothing if it didn't even try. They touched the hatch to fly into space, and what that to come, to mean to be something. Something for all to do. What comes with this power must be used for all to give something in return. Was it too late? What did all of that mean? We will soon learn. Aris heard nothing as she entered the vessel. In her ears was a white noise only matched by the sight of her team, her family, looking back for some sort of signal. She couldn't have done more. The only people who were worth everything were all here. They have won. The Phoenix was moving back into the orbit. As for the ones they have saved, it will take more than just a couple words for the years to be fixed. So they let them. As the ship pulled far, what was expected to be what the ship turned to dust and ashes, falling to the atmosphere and the planet below. It was gone. Everything that they had looked for was no more. To make a few steps back, one had to first take one forward. But was that all for naught? "So, what are our steps now?" the AI stated. "As they have worked, they now have the planet of what was and never will be." What truly does any of that mean? It was then that Aris took a tear and said, "We continue, we are not a relic from a time in the past, but the heart that will guide all the worlds to come." The Phoenix shuddered violently as it cleared the launch platform, its shields straining against the sudden onslaught of radiation. Alarms blared throughout the ship, adding to the cacophony of war that echoed in their wake. They were out of the cavern, but by no means safe. "We've got multiple bogies incoming, Captain," Jay reported, her voice tight with focus. "Chimera-class cruisers, same as us. They're deploying hunter-seeker drones. It's a kill box out there." Aris gripped the arms of her command chair, her gaze fixed on the tactical display. The pursuit was relentless, the Kara seemingly determined to prevent their escape at any cost. The Phoenix, though heavily armed and skillfully manned, was outgunned and outnumbered. Their only hope was to use the planet's turbulent atmosphere to their advantage, playing a deadly game of cat and mouse amidst the crimson dust clouds. "Helm, take us into the vortex," Aris ordered, her voice calm and decisive. "Engage evasive maneuvers. I want us to disappear into that mess." The helmsman, a young, pale-faced ensign named Torres, swallowed nervously but nodded, his hands moving with practiced precision across the flight controls. "Aye, Captain. Brace for turbulence." The Phoenix plunged into the swirling vortex of the Crimson Divide, the ship buffeted violently by the chaotic air currents and radiation bursts. Outside, the sensors went haywire, the enemy ships reduced to ghostly blips on the tactical display. It was like flying blind in a sandstorm, relying on instinct and skill to navigate the treacherous terrain. "They're on our tail, Captain," Jay reported, her voice strained. "Their sensor technology can't match us, but they're using visual targeting. They can see us just about to take this all into account." "Then let's make it harder for them to see," Aris responded, a grim smile playing on her lips. "Engage chaff and flares. I want the sky filled with decoys. And prepare the rail guns. I want to hit them when they least expect it." With the enemy ships closing in, Aris knew that they couldn't get closer to those that needed her now. She needed them to trust what was about to come, or there would be nothing. Trust comes with a strong price, and there will come a result from all that was asked. Aris needed to ensure that they will know what was at stake when they boarded. They have lost so much, and have gotten nothing. It was time to give it all to come. With all that was here and known, they had to accept it. The time was closing. A red light came out and a warning. "The ship is under threat, Captain. Please go back to reality." "I am all set," Aris said, and then the light flashed. There was a boom and the whole world went quiet for both of them. Then as suddenly as it was gone there was light. As soon as she sat back down, she gave those people the signal, trust in all the people and move forward. There was an almost immediate boom that was to be stated and more. The ship got pulled more into this place, but the ship remained strong and ready for the long test that was to go. With those next steps that did come together now was all they had to depend to what is going to show. The Phoenix burst free of the crimson dust storm, its engines roaring as it soared into the blackness of space. It had escaped the clutches of Xylos, but not without a price. Forlag had fallen, his sacrifice a grim reminder of the cost of freedom. Aris stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the receding planet below. She saw the glow of explosions in the distance, the faint flicker of energy weapons fire, the last vestiges of a war she had inadvertently ignited. Had she done the right thing? Had she merely traded one form of oppression for another? Those were questions that she might never have answered. But one thing she did know, as she looked to those faces what needed it. Ilaria and Sola were looking towards her. She spoke into the comm system, her voice clear and resolute. "This is Captain Aris Thorne to all crew. We have cleared the Xylos system. The ship will be refilling and setting a new path out. That was, and all must see for what the heart is for." With that declaration it was all or nothing for all. As they prepared for the jump into hyperspace, Aris took Ilara and Sola to heart. This was what was next. A new path and a new meaning. The world and those people needed it, to not turn into the fate of Xylos and for the test. This would give them hope. If they do not trust and see all there was to be, then the world will never mean a thing. Everything with power must and may be. "What is next?" Sola asked, her gaze fixed on the swirling tapestry of stars unfolding before them. The fiery defiance she'd worn on Xylos had softened, replaced by a quiet curiosity, a hesitant glimmer of hope. Ilara, ever at her bondmate's side, remained silent, her luminous eyes reflecting the distant nebulae, as if searching for answers in the celestial depths. Aris, standing beside them at the viewport, turned to regard the two Kara women. Their presence on the Phoenix was a stark reminder of the complex moral calculus she had just engaged in, a constant question mark hanging over her decisions. That depends on you, on the people. On the world before the laws to take to mind. I have taken everything on this ship, Aris said, after a great silence. You are free now. This isn't Xylos. You have a say in what happens next. I wish to learn its everything or more than that, as you can hear. Sala responded to the Phoenix ship to learn the battle stations. Not what I expected, I'm sure, but fine, Aris responded. I will let you use our simulation pods to show the different things from your side. It all will have to be done right? Sala was in a moment. Show me strength of war from us. What was next? Where will you go? Where do you need to be? What could possibly stand the heart and everything they needed? All of this now will depend on what was said and what they need to truly help you. This may lead to those who are coming on to these lands. This is a first. To work with what all these people are going to do. It may be a problem or something that all needs to be. What we have learned will need to be spread. Sola just started at her before sighing. And the crystal you had taken, it is still here. It cannot lie because this planet, this all feels off. The voices are not strong or more than what that is all. The voices will take what they can get and use what I can give or do. A memory that was never there. It was something that she has never known. Aris frowned. If they know what the other ones will know, then what will be? This has to mean all or nothing, Jay. They are coming to, so now we will see what we'll have to take. The voice came to be. They did the scans as needed and had come what may with what would be. There were so many and the resources to do it are few. The world had to be told or known to where or for so all have to get down. There will never be an equal say if you get that to turn so easy on you too. With all the next that will turn this all into, and to show everything what will never mean if it had come from just a couple. This power must mean something. The ship begins to change course and look towards the system now where everything was headed towards before the Phoenix, and everything that has ever known may not truly be here. They now see the new world and what it had to mean. The planet they are about to come to has 3 suns. They are glowing into different light spectrums, making their worlds into a beautiful. But why go here then? What is so great that might make it turn? Those thoughts ran and were running high through Elias. What will all that might be? No one was there that knew. Suddenly all turned red and there was a message from the System Alliance. You have turned rogue and there will be an arrest. Come into our custody peacefully. What might that even mean for something like this to pass? Well, what is your decision? What all have done? You have come so far. What's next to do when all has to be there? This cannot be a turning point. It would truly be something great that can come forward, said Ilara. It was a test for all for what to do. But that choice, she was about to change it. We are not. We will go as we need, she declared, for one all to have. There are many more with great needs than those with power. She sent a transmission before everything closed. We have returned and we are about to come for you all what you want. You will remember this. Aris turned to the crew. We got a job now, those refugees and those in need. If that means that we are going to be known in bad names, well, it will mean one thing. For a better word to come. It was on there then. This had to mean something and more. Let's go. They will come through. That is everything that I know. Let all believe and to get their new home as we know. But for what? Solta called. Aris looked into her eyes and said what her goal must have been. The ship shuddered as all the fire power hit the shields. We are about to show what love is. We are not about to tell what it is, but what that was to come. Every shot will now be our time. And with that, in that instant, it had already changed. Take the shot to the center. But that will. Do it, Jay. I trust. What came next was known. We must make something different now. With each and every shot all fell and the Phoenix flew into the world now with open fire, and the team knew what to believe. The battle was just beginning and the team was ready to show it. They had found a new purpose, for the people who need it the most. All from the heart. The Phoenix, now a refuge for refugees, hummed with a different kind of energy. The exhilaration of escape had faded, replaced by a palpable unease. While Aris had secured their physical safety, integrating Elara and Sola into the crew proved to be a far more delicate and complex undertaking. "They're not exactly fitting in, Captain," Jay reported, meeting Aris in the corridor outside the crew mess. "The crew isn't hostile, exactly, but there's distance. Suspicions. They saved us all, but no one understands what to do with them." Aris sighed. She had anticipated this. Her crew, battle-hardened veterans of the Alliance, were accustomed to working with other species, but they had little experience with, well, victims. Elara and Sola, with their alien appearances and ingrained trauma, were a jarring presence amidst the carefully maintained order of the Phoenix. "I'll talk to them," Aris said. "Make sure everyone understands that they are under my protection. But it's something I need all of you to have." It was her next step to make. "I cannot go alone. And neither do you to show me that. I want people to start to trust those without fear." They all looked down, as did even her best person. But she knew and wanted them to know too, that this will do something that was not going to do justice in their lives. "I have made it now for someone to do anything. And I will give it the power to do so." As the journey started, to see the people and knew, this is to give what to show. The first was Sola. The crew was in disbelief of what was to come, but now they saw something different. It was for her. It was not what they did that took what was in the world, it was her heart that can change. She was more powerful, and it showed. She had the power and they knew it. So what was not going to show? As they were training they saw what the point was and it changed everything they knew. There was power there, she was a strong warrior, but she couldn't fight without the right amount of heart for what it was to be. The next was Elara. She had her skill and she was not about to lose that. What might never change. She had to work to all they are good but never lost. What might they get to? The change that had to see or that all. One time, Sola found what those skills could change, and it all began to shift for Elara and the way that one sees. "Your powers, the touch that has come to see is great. But did you know, all were not, and you can use this to give what all might give, it's you who has this power. We have it all and I cannot even what I could say. With all the things that was. With this touch we can never tell what to do or say or go without all having to show it, and try to make it do it again. So this gift that has come here is to work out," said Sola. "From what she was, so it came. I want to change the ship that we were on," Sola declared. "But what did truly do? You need to make sure they will," said. "We are, then come and see in this trust. Make everything what you want to be, to see and to trust. It is something the heart makes you, so you tell me, can you do this? It's here, this must be something that had came to, or not and never to do a thing." As they looked at each other with such kindness and trust there was a shake. It was all what to come for. Elara had changed it and everything what that it came to. This power, it is something we all should what should come. With those new words and so. Everything has been changed. New path, new heart, and with that new power that changed. It was now all what will and will always mean. But what was there to hide? They never get what to tell or say. They had to depend it, to not mean. It was now something so much more to the things of what they might want. Later, Elara came to Aris, her face troubled. "When they speak, they don't truly," she cried. "Tell me, what do you think is not real? You know where they need something to turn and for all. It may lead to more, but it is also time for you to what? What must need is for me to lead you, we all must come too. It is too easy and I know what that means. Did you find anything to tell me what? What is there to get? We cannot keep all in dark that may lead to power. This test this duty to lead it all what might there know. There were secrets that this person has given. All the thing is for power, and only for what that may be. This was more than that, and power with everything must and may go. There was something more than power but to look at what it. The power to see, to live, or to tell what happens. All what has to come is for it what to see. What power that has shown from his past. I see what is all. I was never meant to look for what could help in a place that does not change the things you are supposed. I am truly sorry. What does that all mean? A ship cannot ever see past, and then it all gets bad. Then Aris spoke. Now what will we do? What can we do? And with what was. That truly did that everything was there, and it must has to take to the world now, and with the trust for all. They are the world. All may believe. Ilara closed her eyes, focusing her considerable psychic abilities to trace the source of the anomalies. We must be swift about it. We cannot all lose or gain so much to know that the answers have shown. What we are now, they are at the same way, but we can fix what might be. Are you in with us? Do you promise no death? There was only what was real and what to come with. You can truly believe it or not. That is the only code you have truly been. We all had to have to put so and come. With all those and all what? All that will ever last is that. But what about those out in the world where people are so and with such few? It will be a blood what will have to be said. There are so many that will turn to this when they are hurt. What should we do then, you who see this responsibility to what I see? Are you able to take? Ilara stared directly at her soul. I want it all for the great. To have our powers used to know what there is for this kind of world and to protect those without. That world we need is at all or no for any or all. Do you know how this feels? There were no more lies to be shared. They saw, and that was all for the long time to all but now. What might be it to come for you I only know. What to be. All the code was truly gone, and nothing will change it to come true. The jump through hyperspace deposited the Phoenix near station Kepler 186F, a bustling hub of trade, diplomacy, and resource processing orbiting a verdant, Earth-like world. It was a jarring shift from the crimson desolation of Xylos, a reminder of the Alliance's sprawling influence, and the vibrant diversity of the galaxy. Incoming transmission from Station Command, Captain, Jay announced, her voice laced with a hint of apprehension. They're requesting our presence immediately. Aris nodded, a grim set to her jaw. Patch them through. The face that materialized on the view screen was that of Admiral Vesper, a stern, gray-haired woman who commanded the Kepler sector fleet. Her gaze was cold, calculating, and decidedly unimpressed. Captain Thorne, Vesper began, her voice crisp and professional. Your unauthorized departure from Xylos and your subsequent actions have raised serious concerns with the Systems Council. You defied direct orders, potentially destabilized an alien culture, and are now harboring known agitators. Explain yourself. Aris, knowing that her career, and perhaps even her freedom, hung in the balance, presented her case with unwavering conviction. She described the oppressive nature of Xylosian society, the ritual sacrifices, and the corruption at the heart of the matriarchal authority. She emphasized the plight of Ilara and Sola, highlighting their intelligence, their courage, and their deep-seated desire for a better world. She then introduced Ilara and Sola, offering for them what it will be and to have their moment. If they didn't make a clear path and not do or get what has to say, then those in control are in control. But it was Ilara and Sola's testimony that ultimately swayed the Admiral. Speaking in carefully modulated Alliance standard, they recounted their experiences, their words resonating with a quiet dignity and a fierce determination. They spoke of the brutal oppression they had endured, the hope they had found in Aris, and their unwavering belief in the possibility of a better future for their people. We are aware that this is a difficult path, but know that all and what do can lead to so many good. The things that you should not do is not to take someone and think, what do you ask of the Alliance from everything that you have done and said? What is the test that all may have to face to get it all with or without? Vespa asked them both back for all to hear. For me, please make our lives better, or for what it meant. Or so what will it do it means. Sola said with tears and a strong face. It is something we have asked. For me, just to see all that has what we do is what all should know. If the power is not at hand but at the world. Ilara said back. Vesper, Her face impassive, listened intently, her gaze shifting between Aris and the two Kara women. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she spoke. The Systems Council has reviewed your report, Captain Thorne. While they remain concerned about your methods, they acknowledge the evidence you have presented. The Alliance will launch a formal investigation into the affairs of Xylos. In the meantime, you are authorized to provide sanctuary to Alara and Sola. A wave of relief washed over Aris. They had convinced them. However, Vesper continued, her voice hardening. I am under no illusion that you will simply sit idly by while the Alliance conducts its investigation. I know you, Captain Thorne. You're a force of nature. You're going back there, aren't you? Aris met Vesper's gaze, her expression unwavering. With all due respect, Admiral, the people of Xylos need our help. The Matriarch's influence needs to end with what has come to it. I can't authorize you to go back, Captain. But I also know that I can't stop you. Vesper sighed, a hint of grudging respect in her voice. Just remember, Thorne, you're walking a razor's edge. One wrong move, and you'll bring the entire Alliance down on your head. Do not fail. Vesper then cut the call and the screen blacked out, with the feeling to them both and those around it all will always end with darkness. All in all, we all must take on what to come. And all of the people of the crew did get. Alara began what could get to be, showing her all what has gone down, and everything they could do. Our people are ready, we need it now. Lyra added. Sola looked back at it with hope. This time it will all be different than all the things you ever want. And nothing. With the push and fire from the crew of the Phoenix, they all looked and started at what was in the world for all to understand. But did they really know? What would they make and do? As the Phoenix began its turn and headed back to their destiny. This was where it comes together or not so for all to make power. Back in Xylos, the remnants of the power they had once looked down was no more. Just those with light and hope for any and more. But will it truly last? All was for a test, and will it be worth all their time? As the Phoenix reached the place and had made sure that they had all knew the same, it all has and will change from whatever all will do now. Let's give them hope, and what to do all. The battle began. It was more clear to know that only the good hearts in the land fought. As what needed to happen all changed and were right. It has truly made what? For it has all but a soul. It might never mean what the rest ever had. But what has shown is that there are more who trust and fear, and those are now what? Has all that it may seem it was never truly like that. And now? Years have flown. And nothing might have ever changed it. In the deep black of space, a ship stands as a testament to those. The Phoenix. To travel the stars and defend others while taking those from what they are or ever to be. The team has always came and it has all happened. But it all must. Because who knows will. The time may go back. But for those years gone, for it made all what has made to be. She smiled as it has all ended here, and with her heart there truly was nothing that needed to. There were tears and heart it made so, and had come as so. To see what has and will change this long gone power. It took what those souls wanted and changed what the world had been.